Is the greatest enemy.
Oh, I don't know. I mean, I'm not sure. Honestly, I mean, it just whatever against community standards or whatever.
Gotcha. You just broke the rules a little bit, you think?
I guess. Yeah.
Gotcha. So, you referred to her as, called her beautiful, pretty, and all of this. I'd say you built up a fair attraction to her.
Yeah.
You were attracted to her.
Yeah, but like I said, I've never done anything with him.
Oh no! I'm not saying that. I'm just asking if you were attracted to her.
Well, yeah. I mean, I guess I was.
Yeah. What was attractive about her? Like, you just found her cute, or what?
Yeah.
Cool. Found her pretty.
Yeah.
Cool. And you referred to her butt as a little turkey butt.
Well, no, I called her a turkey butt. It was just.
You little turkey butt.
Yeah.
Where does like the turkey butt nickname come
I don't know. It was just something that popped in my head.
Gotcha. Did you call her like a turkey because you wanted her to like gobble on your cock, or
No.
what was it? No. Okay.
No,
Gotcha.
it's just
Because you
pet
talked
name
about
or-
it.
yeah.
No, that's totally fine. So I do got to ask. So you follow majority underage kids on Instagram.
Whoever. I mean,
But would you say the majority is underage kids?
probably. Yeah.
Okay. So that's, of course, what looks to be, I mean, you consciously follow people. It's not like you have like a follow bot that just follows a bunch of people. And that's okay. Everybody has people they follow.
Well, I mean, if it's a cute girl, yeah, I follow. Yeah.
What does that hat say?
Oh, Trump.
Oh, yeah. No, I like it, dude. You know, you were talking about you were being short on gas, man. Freaking under Trump, that shit wouldn't have happened. You would have you could have taken her freaking to Mexico, man. You know, but
Yeah, well,
I know, dude. It's been kicking my ass, dude. Dude, I drove.
oh, it's killing me. Yeah.
Yeah, dude. Even going down the block, I lose half my income, dude. It's
I
like
know.
they should just call paychecks gas money at this
That's why
point.
so many people are just sitting at home and collecting their, you know what I'm saying, their checks or whatever.
Yeah,
Unemployment
and then
or
this
whatever,
inflation's like ridiculous.
Yeah.
But anyway, well, that's cool. That's cool. Maybe we'll get it back in 2022. You know.
I doubt it.
Yeah, we'll see.
Not with Biden in there.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But anyway, no, well, that's cool. That's cool. So I wanted to ask though. So you do follow? Oh, sorry. You can go ahead. He was here to meet Emily also.
Oh,
No, I'm just kidding. I know, a little party. It's the Cincinnati, Ohio GOP convention going on here. But anyway, okay, so you do follow majority underage girls on Instagram, I guess. Yeah. Like, for example, me, I own a political page on Instagram. Like, my name on Instagram is, I'm like from, you know, Northern Kentucky. I'm Northern Kentucky GOP. I have like about 11K followers, but most of the people I follow, it's like, you know, it's people like, yeah, I follow Joe Biden for the lulz and shit. Because basically, you know, my grandma has Alzheimer's and dementia, so I'm like, I basically, I mean, watching a Joe Biden speech is like a tutorial video on how to treat somebody with Alzheimer's and dementia. You know what I mean? So.
Well, Kamala's going to be before long, you know.
Yeah, no kidding, no kidding. So, but my point is, I follow pages because I'm interested in politics. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, basically, you follow underage girls, I think, because you have some type of interest in underage girls. Is that accurate to say? Because you mentioned multiple times in the chat that you like prefer underage girls.
I said that. I mean, cute girls, whatever. Yeah.
Right. And cute girls to you seem to be, and I'm not saying.
No, I mean, they could be anything.
Right. No, I'm not saying you explicitly like underage kids. Once someone turns 18, you know ditch them. I think you just have, maybe it's more of like a. Yeah, I don't think you only like underage kids. It's more like a preference kind of.
No, not necessarily.
So it's not a preference. You just have an attraction in general.
Yeah, it's not a preference. Yeah.
Cool. But you do follow majority underage girls on Instagram, which is fine. You know, me personally, I'm against the age of consent law. I think it's bullshit. I think there are 11-year-olds out there more mature than 18-year-olds.
Well, anybody can be mature.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So I'm not trying to argue on that, but it seems like your preference is underage girls. Is that accurate to say?
No, not preference. I mean, like I said, it can be anything.
Cool.
If they're cute or if
Got you. But anyway, that is majority who you follow on Instagram. So I know you've reached out to a few of them on there. How do those conversations go with other underage kids?
Well, I mean, just talk to people. I talk to whoever I want.
Right. And I know, like, over the internet, talk is talk. So when you talk, I'm sure you talked about, like, I don't, from what I understand, you weren't just targeting Emily, were you?
No.
Okay, so.
I'm going to get my. No, I'm not reaching for my knife.
Okay. Cool. So, I mean, here, let me close that all the way for you. Yeah, absolutely. No, but, right, okay, no, that's cool. So when you talk to these other underage kids sexually, it's just talking, right? Okay. So you weren't just targeting Emily, you just talked to multiple underage girls sexually, because you're not like targeting them.
Well, I just talk to whoever will talk to me.
Right,
I mean,
right.
if somebody messages me, I mean, I just talk to them.
So, yeah, no, so I guess, and I'm not saying it's like a bad thing, but there are like other underage girls you like talk to kind of stuff to haven't done anything with.
Yeah, I mean, I guess in the past.
Yeah. So like these like, and I'm gonna go out on a limb and say this. These like graphic messages, you sent these to other underage girls, but you didn't touch them though.
No, I've never touched any.
Okay, so with other underage kids, it's only just graphic. You only just sent graphic stuff. And that was about it.
Yes.
Is that correct?
I guess so.
Is yes or no?
Yes.
Okay. Cool. So how many other underage kids do you think it was besides that? It was just it was just willy-nilly kind of lost count.
Just here and there. Just here and there, people that have talked to me. That's all.
Cool. And and it didn't really matter to you if they were underage or not. It was just whatever.
Yeah, just whoever talked to me.
Cool,
Really.
cool.
Be friendly.
Yeah. No, that's cool. Okay, so thank God, because if Emily was your first time like messaging an underage kid like this, I'd be pretty mad too. But this wasn't your first time messaging an underage kid like this?
No.
Okay. So you've messaged multiple underage kids like, you're sexy and all that kind of stuff?
Well, I have. You're cute, or you're beautiful,
Thank
or
you.
you're
Thank
yeah.
you. And it got kind of sexual with them too, I hope, right?
Well, yeah.
Okay, good. Thank God, because...
Yeah, I didn't target one.
Okay, good, because that's harassment and bullying, just to target one. But if you say it, sexual stuff to multiple underage kids...
Like I said, I'll talk to anybody that I've talked to.
Of course. Okay, and you did send your dick pic multiple times to her too.
Yeah, I guess I did.
Mm-hmm. So what was the point of what was the reason behind that?
I don't know, just stupidity, I guess. Like I said, I've been single for a long time. I've been lonely.
So why'd you get like a divorce?
Oh, that's been a long time. It's been 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And in my last two relationships, I got cheated on.
Really?
Both times by the girl. When I'm in a relationship, I don't cheat. You know what I mean?
No, of course not. No, cheating's horrible. I agree with that.
Women are close to my age,
Right. No, I don't think you've had an in-person relationship with somebody. You're right. No, I totally get that. But anyway, that was page 1 here. Okay, and then you say, I took a couple pictures of my cock for you to see, baby. So you did send a few dick pics.
I can say that.
And again,
like I said, I apologize. I won't.
So you genuinely do not have to be sorry. It's totally okay.
I won't mess
Dude, I'm not worried about that. I'm just trying to understand what happened, why it happened. Trust me, don't worry about it, okay? And, okay, so I took a couple of pictures of my cock for you to see, baby, hee. So, okay, so I assume during the course of this conversation you did get turned on at times.
Well, I guess I did.
Okay, no, that's totally fine. And, yeah, I did, baby, but I only want to show you if you actually want to see what one looks like, baby.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're big on, like, consent and it takes two to tango.
Yeah, I wouldn't have said that. Right?
Right, no. So, anyway, you asked, do you want to see what one looks like? And you said, don't be shy at all, baby. Tell me what you think about it after I send it to you, baby, okay? So, I assume, like, because it seems like it seems like you know exactly what you're doing, like in the fact that you're big on consent, you're big on getting her permission to do things. Like, you're not one of those you're not one of those Harvey Weinsteins, you're not one of those Bill Cosbys.
Yeah.
You're not one of those Epstein Island. You know what I mean? Not at all.
No.
So
like I said, I've never done it.
right. So I assume so to me it doesn't look like this was your first time sending like an underage girl a dick pic. You've done it before multiple times too. I hope so.
Well, I'm sure I have, yeah.
Send other underage girls dick pics?
I could probably. If they said they wanted to see, yeah.
Yes or
I
no?
would.
Okay, cool. Because I just want to make sure you're not targeting here. Okay. Cool. And then you mentioned you are bald between your legs too, baby, aren't you? That just is what I like, baby. You being flat-chested right now, you think I'm weird, baby. So why would you say that? Do you think I'm weird?
I don't know. Like I said, I won't mess with you.
No, I'm not. Look, man, like I said, I'm against it. Okay, I don't believe in that garbage shit. Okay, it's a bullshit law. We do got to go over these, okay?
Well, we don't have to go over each and every one.
Well, David.
I believe. Yeah, I know what I said.
David. As cool as I'm being with you, look, dude. GOP and GOP right here. Like, seriously.
I know that.
I know, and we do have to go over these because, look, man, if you were some blue-haired Silicon Valley hippie, I'd be pretty pissed with you. But look, me and you share a lot of the same values, okay? And look, I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm 27 now. when I was 21, guess what? I was not okay? That's what nailed me right here. Okay? So I've been in a similar position to you, okay? So that's why I'm not like blowing up at you, doing all that stuff. I'm just like, but we do gotta get food. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I mean, I know that.
I know, but we do gotta go.
I mean, yeah,
I know. I know, but we both know what you're saying. We do got to go over stuff like this, okay? So anyway, you asked, do you think I'm weird? And you said, me being flat-chested right now, that's just what I like. So I assume, like, when a girl is flat-chested, that's more of your preference? Because you said that's what I like.
Well, I guess that, yeah.
So you just like, rather than, you know, BBW, like more of like a flat chest A cup, because you mentioned A cups too is something you like. You like
yeah, small-breasted women, period.
Yeah, so just like smaller stature, petite, kind of. Okay, cool.
Yeah, because my ex-wife was.
Okay, cool. So you like, you know, that makes sense, of course. And you did mention, yes. So of course, I don't think you only like kids because, of course, how would you have sex with your wife? You know.
I was married.
Exactly. So how would you have had sex with her if you only like kids? However, I do think a big reason you do have a big attraction to what looks like underage kids is because of that same flat-chested preference you have. Is that correct?
Yes, sir, yeah.
Okay. So you think part of the reason that underage kids are attracted to you is because they have like flatter chest, flatter ass, and stuff like that?
I mean, I guess. I don't know what it is. I mean, I don't really think about it that way.
You just have an attraction to them?
Well, just an attraction to whatever. It doesn't have to be a certain age.
No, I understand that, but do you think that's why underage kids fall in that attraction of females you're attracted to because of the flat chest and all of that?
Maybe, I don't know.
Is it a yes or no, you think?
I guess, yes.
Cool, no, that's cool.
I'm gonna roll my window. I'm gonna sit in here. It's cold. The night I'm not gonna hurt anybody. I ain't going nowhere.
Okay. Yeah, I'd prefer if you don't go anywhere, please. Yeah. Here, all the way down, please, Amy. I can give you my sweatshirt if you want.
I'm cold.
All right, all the way down, please. Thank you. Okay. Cool. Dude, I really love that Trump hat of yours, man. Yeah.
I got the cigarette store.
Yeah.
Got the somebody was selling them, or they sold them there, and then somebody had that was outside. It had a Trump mask. So I bought both.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. What does GOP stand for to you, grand old pedo? No, I'm just kidding. I'm just playing with you.
No, actually, I mean,
No. Okay. Well, anyway, I want to kiss you so much, baby. LOL. So, you also said, I like everything about you. I want to kiss you so much, baby. LOL. Okay. So, I guess the sex talk is when you got horny. Is that accurate to say?
I mean, I haven't been with a woman in a while. I guess it was always horny.
Got you. So when you would send Emily, I want to kiss you, I want to feel your little breast, that was just when you were horny, I guess you could say?
Yeah.
Cool. And again, I guess you got turned on by her because of her flat chest and just stature and all that?
Well, I mean, I never really seen a good picture of her. Just most of his face.
Oh, okay. So her face was just cute to you then?
Yeah.
Cool. And that's kind of what turned you on. Then the idea of her as well, is that accurate to say? Cool. Okay. Then you said, yeah, really, baby. I don't want to hurt you with it. I want you to enjoy it, baby. So I assume when you were talking about having sex with her, you didn't want to hurt her, which is very commendable.
Oh, my hands are cold.
Okay, giving yourself a blow. Anyway, yeah, really, baby. I don't want to hurt you with it. I want you to enjoy it, baby. So I assume that was because when you were to have sex with her, you weren't gonna like hurt her or anything. Is that correct?
No, I've never hurt anybody.
Okay. So when you were gonna have sex with her, you were just gonna make sure it doesn't hurt at all.
I guess I don't know.
Okay. So, because there's been like, of course you hear about violent gang rapists who just destroy the anus of an 11-year-old, you know?
Yeah.
Fuck them up for life, do all this horrible stuff to them. So, when you were going to have sex with her, you were just going to do it gently? Is what?
I guess that's what I meant.
Okay.
I mean, I've never heard it. I've never even
Do you
had
think
sex
they
with
mean it?
Yeah.
Right.
No girl like that.
I mean, it looks like this was going to be your first time, so you weren't going to hurt her doing it. Is that correct? Okay. So you were planning on having sex with her, but you weren't going to rape her. You were just going to do it gently. Is that correct?
I guess, yeah.
Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay. Cool. And, okay, so you wanted to have sex with Emily here. It's bigger than guys your age, baby. So, you mentioned your penis is bigger than guys Emily's age. So you're getting into a literal dick measuring contest with an 11-year-old. What was the reason for that?
I just made a comment.
No, that's cool. I mean, I would hope your dick is bigger than an 11-year-old.
Yeah, I would too.
I mean, do you go to Little League games and say I can pitch harder than a 5-year-old or what? Okay, just asking. Do you go to second grade math class and say I can multiply better than little Devin, who's 7 years old?
Well, I don't know. Some people ain't smarter than 5th graders. So.
No, that's yeah. You're right. You're right. And then you ask Kira, do you know anything about sex, baby? So I guess you wanted to teach her how to have sex, like teach her the ins and outs, and the ins and outs, and the ins and outs, and the ins and outs. Oh, cool. So I do respect you for wanting to teach her about sex rather than just rape her. Good, you wouldn't rape them. So you were just planning on teaching her how to have sex then?
Yeah, I mean, I've never
No, I get it, man. I get it. So, okay, good. So, I'm glad you wanted to have sex with her in a positive, gentle way because, you know, she is 11 years old. So, anyway. Here, it's a little dark. Here, actually. Hey, sir. You want to hold this flashlight? Here. I don't know him. I guess he's just here. He's cool if he holds it.
What? I don't know.
Cool, okay. You're not going to hurt him or anything, right? Okay, cool. Okay, good. Okay, then you say that's okay, I would teach you. We would have to actually get together physically and spend time together, baby, but then I would show you stuff. Oh, okay, cool. So I guess that's what you came here for tonight, just to teach her the ins and outs and all that. Cool. And you told her to bring clothes. I guess you were gonna take her to sleep over and protect her and whatnot.
She's the one that said something about sleeping.
Oh, okay. So she said it, so you were just cool with it.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I didn't really think about that.
No. Oh, okay. So you weren't thinking about taking her to Lillian's house and then doing stuff there. You were just thinking about just doing stuff here.
Well, I guess. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
I mean, well,
yeah, no, cool. And you ask, I would love to see something naughty from you, baby, please. So what does that mean?
I don't know.
Just a naughty pic, like kind of nude, I guess you could say.
Well, no, I don't know.
Or just like an underwear, maybe.
Yeah.
Okay, so you want an underwear pic with him, really? Okay, so you also said, don't be shy, baby. It's just me. Nobody else will know but us. And, okay, so you wanted to keep it a secret from people, is I guess what I'm gathering here?
Yeah,
I agree, man. It's so taboo. And, dude, I get it. And I think if you were at, like, UC Berkeley or something and you wore that Trump hat, I think you'd want to keep that a secret, too. You know what I mean? So, anyway. So here's saying, come on, princess. You know what you want to tell me, baby, LOL. So I guess that was kind of asking for a nude.
I'm just asking for whatever.
Okay. Let's see. And then you said, you don't have to be shy with me, baby. Why doesn't she need to be shy with you? Is it because you just wanted her to be comfortable around you?
Yeah,
Cool.
I mean, that's all I need.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that for real. Okay, and then you say, well, stuff that would make you feel really good and stuff that would make me feel really good. Things we could do to each other, baby. So, I guess, well, here you say, me eating your pussy and you sucking my cock and us doing actual sex together. So you were just going to teach her all that stuff gently, I assume, right?
Well, yeah, I wasn't gonna hurt her. I mean,
Thank you.
I wouldn't
Thank you
hurt
for that.
anybody.
God bless you.
Like
Thank
I said,
you.
I've never,
Thank you so much for that. Thank you so much
I
for
would
that.
never,
No, I appreciate that. So,
I've never hurt a female in my life.
so when you were basically asking her to suck your cock, would you have just like would you like push down on her head really hard, or would you have just like gently gave it to her?
Like any other thing,
Okay, so
yeah, I wouldn't.
okay, so it would have just been gentle with her when she was sucking your cock. Okay, but with her too, right?
Yeah, I guess.
Okay, cool. Okay. And here you say, you know you can also masturbate, baby, and play with yourself. So what do you mean by play with yourself?
Masturbate. I mean, it's
Cool. Will you ever wear thong panties and stuff like that for me, baby? And she says, yeah, but I don't have any. No, I don't have a stepdad. And you say, okay, baby. I mean, if I buy them for you, baby, will you wear them? Oh, got you. So, were you like, I guess, gonna buy her lingerie if she was one of them?
I mean, I didn't even know if we would ever meet up. To be honest with
No, I mean that's why you
you.
can't do it.
In the beginning, I mean, this was an online call.
No, for sure. Oh, by the way, do you have your lotion with you that you brought?
Yeah, I did bring it.
Oh, let me see the lotion, by the way.
Oh man.
Oh, well, yeah. What's in the bag? Is there condoms in there too? What's?
No, actually,
You got the lotion. Oh, okay, cool. Nice. Let me see. Oh wait, here. Let me just see it. No, just see the infused lotion. Okay, cool. So I guess you really do want to be gentle with her.
this was actually for a massage.
Oh, you're just gonna massage her.
That's what I said. Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay, well, I'm glad. Yeah, that would not have been fair if we just did a little try.
And that's what I told her.
Cool. You say, well, right now I'm not working, but I'll be working again soon, baby. Hopefully, LOL. So, wait, what do you do for a job?
So right now, I don't know.
What did you do for a Oh, you did remodeling? Oh, was it like modeling with an 11-year-old? Because you mentioned you wanted her to be a model.
Remodeling. Yeah.
Remodeling.
Yeah.
Remodeling.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Sorry, I have hearing problems a little bit. And you say, I usually do construction work of some kind. Oh, that makes sense. Got you. Okay. Then you said, that's when I realized that I was attracted to the age of young girls. So you were going on like a little tangent there. And this seemed to be a while ago. How old's your daughter, by the way?
She's 27.
Got you. Okay. Cool.
Your team has destroyed a turret.
Let's see. Yeah, I won't lie. I would love to see you naked, to be honest with you, LOL. So I guess that makes sense. Like, I don't think you were lying when you put this here. You said you wanted to see her naked, and that was, I guess, either pics in person. Was that accurate to say?
Yeah, I guess.
Okay. And I guess in person the lotion was for that too. Is that correct?
Well, I mean, for a massage in person.
Right. You also said you wanted to have sex with her, so it's all cool. Yeah, what else is in the bag besides the lotion?
Oh, just a couple beers.
Oh, yeah, you were going to bring alcohol too, right?
That was for me, not for her.
No, I know. What kind of alcohol did you bring? Okay, gotcha. Did you bring a Modelo alcohol because you wanted her to be a model?
No.
Okay, gotcha. I was just asking. It's a fair question. Okay. What do you think about that? Be honest with me, baby. If you want, you can. Okay. Then you said you want to see her naked. I can't wait until we make love, baby. And then she says, have you done it with other young girls before?
Yeah, I lied about that.
About what?
I told her that.
With who?
With other girls.
Hey, so I got a question for you. What's a pedophile?
Pedophile.
What's the definition of one?
Seems that way, but
Well,
I've never.
No, I'm not saying. But you said attracted, not somebody that's done it. You said attracted.
Yeah.
So attracted. You told me you were attracted to Emily. You said you have an attraction to young kids that spanned at least a few years. You told me this earlier. So.
Well, I said I've been attracted to
Everybody. I'm not. No. I'm not saying you're one of those pedophiles like Epstein, who is, or like Joe Biden, who is like, who just likes people under 18. You're attracted to everybody.
I'm attracted to
Just A cups.
one that just like I said, I've been lonely for a long time. I haven't been. So I mean, if a girl starts showing me attention, woman, girl, whatever. I mean,
No. I believe that for sure.
I've talked to some that they send you a pic, not naked pic, but I mean just a picture.
Right.
They look like model, and it's like, you try to get them to do a video chat with you, so you can see what they look like for sure. And they're like, oh, my camera's messed up, or whatever. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Right, but you do mention in the chats multiple times you like younger girls. You told me earlier you like younger girls. So again, I'm not saying you're exclusively liking young girls, but do you fit the definition of pedophile due to the fact you do like young girls? Well,
I don't know if I consider myself. I mean, maybe, I don't know.
Well, is somebody that wants to see an 11-year-old naked a pedophile? Okay, so by definition, are you a pedophile? Yes or no?
I guess.
Yes or no?
Yeah.
Okay. Got you. Okay, so I get it. I mean, you've been so open, and I'm so glad you have good intentions. Like, I'm so glad the sex was never hurt or anything. So, no, for sure. And okay, so how long have you been separated from your daughter?
Well, my daughter's 27.
Does she still like talk to you? Not really, does she?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, gotcha.
I lied to her about that. I never.
Okay. So, here you say, do you know when I really started being attracted to girls about your age, baby? And this was longer than a few years ago. When my daughter was growing up, and her mom and I had gotten a divorce, which I guess was, how long was it ago? Okay, 8 years old when she got a divorce. And she used to come over to the house, and it was summertime, and she just started getting little bumps on her chest. Her boobs were starting to come up, and I thought she was so sexy and hot, and I really loved it when she wore her bikini and stuff. That's when I realized I was attracted to girls of that age. So, I think you could definitely be lying about touching your daughter. Or, I'm sorry, having sex with her.
Yeah, I'm
lying. However, I do think you're lying about that. But I don't think you're lying about you noticed that your daughter was a little cute. And you noticed when she had bumps on her chest and she would wear the bikini. From what it looks like, I think that gave you a little bit of attraction. Is that correct? No, and I like how you don't discriminate between family and not family. We're all humans on this earth. I appreciate that. But so is it safe to say when you started to notice the little bumps on your daughter, which crosses up on all your eyes with the A cup that you talked about with Emily, is it safe to say you started to build an attraction with your daughter? Yes or no?
Just with the, yes, I guess.
Okay.
So I thought but I never touched her.
No, I'm not saying you did that. I'm just saying you found her attractive. Is that correct?
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, she's beautiful. She's my daughter. I still think she's beautiful.
No, I get it. God, man, if you told all this to a cop, that Trump hat in prison would be orange is the new black, sir. Jeez Louise. Anyway, okay, so Emily asks you, have you ever gotten naked pictures from girls my age other than your daughter? Hee hee. And you say, I have a couple times before, baby. So, I do believe you when you say you haven't touched a kid before. However, I also believe you here when you say you've received at least nudes from other underage girls. And I'm not saying you haven't received nudes from adults, because I know you've done that too, probably more. However, there's been girls here and there that you fucked sexually too, underage girls, would you say? And they've sent you nudes as well, as long as you said that. Because you said that right there.
Yeah. Probably here or there.
Okay, so you just received, trust me, I know every day you're not getting online and you're not getting a daily nude from like a 10-year-old, but it's just happened before here and there is what you're saying?
I guess so.
Okay, so you've received at least a few amount of nudes from underage kids, yes or no? Okay, cool. And yeah, I can hear you say you have a couple of times. Good. And you said, I would give anything to get naked pics from you, baby. Would you give up smoking to get a naked pic from Emily?
No, I don't know about that.
Yeah.
Can't say that.
Me either. Me either.
Enemy killing spree.
Oh, can you turn the car lights on?
Double kill.
I don't
Ace.
even do all that.
Oh, please, sir. I just want to make sure we have good conversations.
Well, I'm listening. I mean, I'm okay.
Okay. Let's see. I know you are shy, baby, but you don't have to be shy around me because I'm going to see you naked anyway. You are my girlfriend and lover. Oh, okay. So I assume this online relationship, it built up to, because she liked you back. I could tell she was definitely in love with you. I think you were in love with her too. I think the feelings was mutual. Is that correct?
I guess, yeah. I mean, like I said, I've been single for a long time.
Yeah, and I think that's a big factor in it. But regardless, I know you've been single for a while. However, regardless of what the circumstance was, you both did love each other. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, I assume she did,
Yeah. I mean, I think it's safe to say she loved you back. So you loved her too?
yeah.
Okay. No, cool. And you also, yeah, so you called her your girlfriend, so that's good. And I assume, did you cheat on her?
No, I haven't been with anybody.
Okay. So you weren't snooping around behind Emily's back, were you? Did you stay loyal to Emily?
I mean, I haven't been with any a few years.
Okay.
I haven't slept.
Gotcha.
I've talked to her.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Maybe I can move your Jeep, dude. Sure. Here, fit there. Or actually, let's here, hold this. Okay. I don't want you to be mad at me. That's why I didn't tell you, baby. I'm sorry. She was about your age, blah, blah. We went, okay. Yada, yada, yada. Just a bunch of filler garbage here. No, that's totally fine. You can continue to talk to her, or you can. I mean, again, no worries here. Okay, so you told her these stories, and I guess you trusted Emily. That's why you fell in love with her.
Well, I mean, she seemed sweet, and I mean,
Cool. And I gotta say, here you sent her a picture of a nude girl that you said was around her age. You sent her a nude girl around her age. Did you send that from your phone or your computer?
I think it's from my phone, but it's one that I found on like image search or something.
Yeah,
like that.
of course. So you sent it from the phone you have with you right now?
No. I think it's my old phone.
Do you use your mom's phone?
Yeah, that's the one.
Okay.
That one works.
Okay. And you messaged her on Telegram as well?
Yeah, earlier.
Okay. And when did you download Telegram on that phone?
I didn't. That's on my laptop.
Oh, it's on your laptop at home. Okay, got you. And you said your laptop. And you said what address did your mom live? Oh, right, the Carol. Yes.
Caroline.
Okay, cool. Got you. So the Telegram's on. It's on the laptop over there. How many people live at Caroline?
Me and my mom.
Got you. I noticed a lot of cars in the driveway there. 3 cars.
Oh well, my sister comes over.
Oh, was she over earlier?
Yeah.
Makes sense. Okay. Sweet. Okay. And here you say. Thank you so much, David. I appreciate it. And here you say, my biological dad walked out on me at birth. I never knew him. What? My biological dad walked out on me at birth. I never knew him. I'm sorry to hear that.
Welcome to the howling abyss.
Another one says that.
Oh man, I'm sorry.
And the guy who adopted me was a brutal man.
Really? What did he do to you?
He was a Korean War veteran. He was a Marine.
Minions have
So,
spawned.
like really verbally, mentally, physically abusive.
Got you. And you say, baby, will you send me a new pic, please? Okay, and here you say, I guess we'll just expand on the sex you wanted to have next. Kissing and touching, and I will use my tongue between your legs and lick you down there, baby. It will feel really good, too. You trust me, sweetheart? I might just even marry you one day, baby, if you want me to. So, what I'm getting from this is, when you're kissing and touching, it's just reinforcing how gentle you were going to be, how you weren't going to hurt her. Is that correct? Okay, well that's good. And here you say, I might just even marry you one day, baby, if you wanted me to. So, I guess if y'all were to talk for a few years, you would then propose to her. Is that what you want to do?
I guess it's
Okay. I mean, she loved you back. I mean, it makes sense what you wanted to do. I mean, if there's a girl you love who's your girlfriend, I have a girlfriend. I want to marry her. She's actually a Syrian war veteran. Well, she experienced the Syrian war. You know, she was a woman. She was sick. You know, 24/7. You know what I mean? Yeah. But, oh, it's fucking. But anyway, so you did want to marry her.
if it would come up, I guess years from now. Yeah, I mean, I guess.
Okay, well that's cool. I appreciate it. So you kind of wanted to just, so you weren't gonna like propose to her tonight. Okay. So you just kind of wanted to like groom her until she was ready, kind of.
Well, I just.
No, I get it, but I guess like you wanted to like give her time to get to know you. So you just kind of wanted to like groom her to get her ready.
Shut down.
I mean, it's years past, and you know what I'm saying? If you
Yeah.
get together, I mean,
And just kind of groom her and have her ready, kind of like that.
well, I mean,
Okay. All right. And you said, and the guy who lives with his mom, smoking a cigarette, driving his mom's car, says, "Do you like having a mature older boyfriend, baby?" Oh, it isn't? Okay. Well, regardless, the guy that's twice Ramiel Dolly's age, living with his mom, says, "Do you like having a mature older boyfriend, baby?" So what do you mean by mature here? Oh, okay. I was about to say. And here you say, "Would you like to be my wife, baby?" And I guess, okay. Well, I guess it wasn't a proposition. It was more like just down the line. I guess you said. And you said, "Well, you were the youngest girl I wanted to be with, but I had sex with a 16-year-old girl a long time ago." No, again, a 16-year-old's legal here. Okay. So you had sex with a 16-year-old in Ohio, I assume?
yeah, but I mean, when that happened,
No, for sure. Okay. Well, I mean, I don't give a shit. I mean, whatever. Legal's legal. Legal schmeagle. Legal, you know? And here you say, I wasn't really in love with her, though. It just happened. So it was just spontaneous.
well, I mean, she was in my apartment one night, and we were just sitting there playing cards and dinner, and things just started
Oh, how'd you meet her?
Actually, she was my upstairs neighbor's daughter.
Oh, cool. So how old were you? Like, I guess, like 30 or something?
Yeah.
Oh, you were like 30?
She actually did.
Nice. Oh, yeah, because here you say you were in your 30s. Okay. No, that's cool. So I guess it was barely legal. And, so how did you meet her? Oh, and you're telling the exact truth. She was a friend of my upstairs neighbor. Awesome. And then Emily asked, "You guys take selfies together?" And you said, "No, we didn't pay you off." I guess she forgets you were 50. Selfie. 2002. But, okay, then the guy drinking a Coca-Cola while getting questioned by 3 21-year-olds smoking cigarettes says, "Do you think I'm hot, baby, or at least cute, lol?" I mean, I guess it's okay. I mean, you should find your boyfriend. I guess that's what you want to know. You found your home. Yeah, cool. Then you say, "Well, I'm all yours, baby." And I assume after you said "I'm all yours," your mom breathed a giant sigh of relief.
Nah, she doesn't know.
Okay. So, have you told anybody about Emily? Gotcha. Okay. And then you say,
Like I said, just like an online.
well, I mean, of course it came to in person. And you want
Well, I mean, yeah.
But, I mean, yeah, I understand this was online. And then still you say, you haven't even seen the good parts yet, baby. Then again you say, I'm definitely bigger down there than any other boys your age. So I guess this was round 2 of the dick measuring contest with other 11. Cool. So I mean, this is like a transgender swimmer going into the girls' thing. I mean, this is not a fair competition. You're alluding to. I mean, if I went to like my sixth grade football team and just started playing on the line, I mean, would I be bragging to an 11-year-old girl about how I'm like pancaking little Timmies? I mean, David, come on. And then you literally say it again after she says, what do you mean? You say, my dick is bigger than the boys your age, baby, LOL. That's nice. Nice, that's cool. Because I was watching a LeBron James post-game press conference one time, and he was talking about how he went to the Boys and Girls Club and dunked on a bunch of disabled kids. Same thing, right? Yeah, fuck that fucking Chinese little piece of shit mole. But then he said, I would love for us to be with each other and kiss and do more adult things, like me kissing all over your beautiful little pussy and sucking on your little nipples. And then you say, is that you like clearing your throat after a pack, or is that just like, But again, I guess it reinforces how I gently wanted to be with her. I mean, you definitely found her attractive for sure. Right. No, of course, but you also reinforced that you weren't cheating on her. So you were attracted to her. I'm not saying. Dude, I'm not gonna lie, man. Right. No, I'm saying, you know, with my girlfriend, I love her. I'm gonna marry her, give her a bunch of little half Arab jubies, but I also find other girls attractive. I think it's the same thing with Emily. You wanted to marry her, you wanted to be her boyfriend, but you also find other girls attractive. Is that accurate to say? Okay, yeah, figure it. Okay. Anyway, so I do gotta say, with your daughter, you're totally better. So I do gotta say with your daughter, this is how you said it happened. Okay.
Yeah,
What'd you tell her? So, you remember this alleged lie you said in these messages a few weeks ago. If it was just a lie you made up, you remember it very, very well. Okay? It's okay, yeah, I mean, you remember the story pretty damn well. But anyway, you said, well, we went camping with some friends of mine, and Abby your daughter's name? They weren't lying about the daughter's name. And she was 27, let's say, earlier. Abby and I had our own tent, and I had been drinking beer, and she knew I had been really lonely for a while, and we were alone in the tent, and we were cuddling together. And she asked me why I didn't have a girlfriend, and I told her I didn't want her to feel like she had to share with me anyone else. Had to share me with anyone else.
Yeah, growing up, I mean, I thought because her parents were split up.
Right.
So I just kind of felt like I stayed single. You know what I'm saying? I stayed single, and I felt like she didn't feel like she had to share her dad with me.
Okay, for sure. So, you also mentioned earlier that you have an attraction to her, that you found her attractive. In a different way than other dads find their dad. Every dad will say their daughter's beautiful. For example, our favorite president, Trump, would say Ivanka's beautiful. And out of all the things I agree with Trump on, I agree with him on that the most. Okay? For real. So, you know, Trump called his daughter beautiful. And you had an attraction to your daughter. And you mentioned when she started to get her little boobies, that's when you had the attraction to her. So, I told her I didn't feel like she had to scare me with anyone else. So you didn't tell her that.
Well, no, that's how it felt.
Okay. That you didn't have to share. So you said something to that.
You know, like you shouldn't have to. If I was with another woman, I didn't want her to feel
No,
like,
I get it.
you know, as a
So you told her something to the extent that you don't have to share me, no matter what it meant, right?
no, I didn't tell her. I mean, that's why I stayed single, because I didn't want her to feel like she had to try to get my love like I was loving, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like a little relationship.
And she was laying there in her bikini because it was hot outside. So okay, so I guess it was hot. I mean, for summer going camping, she was laying there in her bikini. Is that correct? Okay. Well, I told her how beautiful she was, and I asked her if I could take pictures of her the next day because she always loved to have her picture taken. So the next day, we got on the four-wheeler my friend had and went into the woods, and we found a spot to take some pictures. And she was wearing her bikini like I asked her to wear, and I took some pics of her, and she asked me if I wanted to take some pictures of her without her bikini on. Okay, so maybe the without the bikini on was stretch, but you did take pictures of her in a bikini, is that correct? No?
No, that's what I'm
Okay.
saying.
So you did,
No, just
okay, so you went camping with her.
Well, yeah. I mean,
Okay.
we went camping before with a bunch of friends.
No, and you mentioned it was a bunch of friends here. I'm not saying this story is 100% accurate. I'm not saying it's 100% bullshit either. So you were camping with her, and she was wearing a bikini.
No, because it was actually winter.
It was winter.
Well, cold. Yeah,
Okay.
like September.
Okay. And I wasn't sure what she meant at first, and I said, yeah, we can do that, baby. Well, she took her top off first, and then I took a few more pics, and then I told her to take off her bottoms, and she was posing for me, and I got so turned on, and I asked her if I could kiss her, and she said yeah, and we kissed, and I started licking her pussy, and then I wasn't sure how far to go, and she said the same thing you said, and I could do anything I want to her, so I stuck my cock inside her and we had sex. Okay. So,
It didn't happen.
and then you said we started doing it together, and we could be alone together, and you can ask me anything you want now, baby. Okay. So, you did have an attraction to your daughter.
I was a lonely guy.
I get it. You're also a self-admitted pedophile. You're also here in your words, you got lotion for her. You brought beers on that. You did say, no going back on this now, you did say you were here to have sex. Well, I know you weren't going to hurt her. You did say you were here to have sex. You did say you wanted to touch her. You did want this 11-year-old girl to marry you. So, with your daughter, you said this is how your attraction started. I don't think you wanted to have sex with your daughter. I think you got carried away and took pictures of her.
Actually, that never happened. I made that story up.
Okay.
I was just telling her that.
I talked to Abby earlier today.
Oh, yeah?
I did. And she told me, I read her the camping story. I talked to her earlier today on the phone. I did. She told me this happened.
No.
Not like that?
We went camping, yeah.
Okay. She did tell me that with the camping thing, you got carried away. I think you got carried away. And you did feel on her. No?
I am.
Okay. So if I were to ask Abby what happened,
Yes. You can thank me later.
she would back you up that you're making all of this up?
Well, the part about us going, that's all.
Okay.
That's all made up. Yeah.
Because you mentioned you had an attraction to her. You mentioned that you're a pedophile. You mentioned you received multiple nudes from underage kids before. You mentioned you've talked sex with underage kids before. You've mentioned that you've hooked up with an underage kid before. I get it, 16 is legal. You mentioned that you hooked up with an underage kid before. 16 is legal in my mind. You mentioned that you had to track some underage kids. You mentioned you said dick pics underage kids. You mentioned you talked sexual stuff. I think it started. I don't think you're an evil dude. I really don't. I think there is a time, whether you were camping, whether it's something, I think you made a move on your daughter one time. I think she might have been okay with it. I'm not saying you're solely to blame. I think there was a time where you felt your daughter in a way that many parents wouldn't. Because you were attracted to her. You've been attracted to her since she was 11 years old. Even younger, 8 years old. When she started to get little breasts. in your words. You've been attracted to her for so long. How long have you been talking to Emily? A few weeks, right? Okay. You are ready to marry this 11-year-old girl a few weeks into talking. And you're telling me that you've been with your daughter you've been attracted to her since she was 8 years old?
I just said it.
I believe you've made moves on her. I believe it with all my heart that you've made moves on her. I don't think you did it in a bad place. I think you were lonely and got carried away. I don't think you did it like an evil person would. I don't think you did it even because you're a pedophile. I think you were with your daughter. I think you made a move on her. I think you made more than a few moves on her because you got carried away and were lonely. Am I correct?
No.
No?
No, like I said, I've never, not that I ever remember, no. That was all just
Okay.
That's just something that I made up. That's how I do it.
All right, am I giving your daughter a call? Okay. If you were to give her a call right now, what would you say?
Like I said,
You don't know.
I mean, I don't ever remember.
Okay.
Not,
And
not,
you mentioned today there were neighborhood girls that you had sex with that were neighbors, 13, 14.
that was made up.
That was all made up. So it was only you received news online from underage girls.
No, from different.
I do what I must.
How's your day going?
Kind of shitty?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, makes sense.
What were you thinking?
Okay. All right, David. Okay. Well, this guy, I guess, is the apartment manager, and he has like, I don't know. I mean, he owns the place. His family does. He's a son. That's what he just told me. So, talk with him for a few minutes, okay? And I guess he wants to know what's going on. Talk with him for a few minutes. David, don't do this again, okay? Do you have the keys? Don't do this again, okay? Okay. All right. Stay and talk with him for a few minutes, okay? All right. Bro, ask him.
Enemy rampage.
Basically, I told Jared, who was with us, holding the blackboard, a big shout out to him. I told him to say that you're the apartment manager or whatever, and say I have a few questions for you about what happened. To buy us time, because we know he has a bunch of. I'm gonna make this easier for you on the editing. Cheese pizza. Yeah. All right. He had a bunch of little naked pussy pics, child porn, anal gaping rape on his laptop.
Fuck. I'm not doing this too. Fuck.
You're just gonna have a silence this whole part. But he had a bunch of child porn on his laptop. And basically, I told Jared to talk to him for a little bit, to buy us time to go to his house where he lives. And I'm going to try to get in touch with the mom right now by knocking on the door. And I'm going to have Jesus call the police on him so the police can be there and hopefully get a warrant, because he has child porn on that laptop, 100%. And I wanted to do the talk at his house because I wanted to take the laptop and obviously turn that into police. But anyway, thanks to Jared who bought us a lot of time. We're heading over there right now. And we'll see you guys over there. Well, I'm sorry, we'll see you members over there.
Alright, to see the rest of this video, it will be on Membears. You know, you get to see what happens next. I will let you know. An arrest was not made on the spot, so I am putting that out there. But if you want to see what happens next, after you go up to his door, be sure to become a member in the pinned comment down below, the member tier on the JDQ channel. And yeah, that is we're going to see the rest of it. Anyway. And also become a member to see our next few catches and all that stuff. And it really helps with traveling and everything. We do get the worst, and we have an arrest in 20 states at this point, so anyway, hope you enjoyed. Leave a like and join Membears. And also, buy a sweatshirt.
food and water. His kayak was holding up. Casper was holding up great at night, so he was able to get some sleep. But some really bad storms that he was anticipating began rolling in kind of all at once in that final third of the journey. During one particularly bad storm, Andrew would remain locked underneath Casper for 28 straight hours as these 30-foot waves would just wreak havoc outside, flipping his kayak over multiple times. I mean, just out to this channel and turn on. Andrew Macaulay was an adventurer. He started as a rock climber and mountaineer, putting up dozens of big wall routes in Australia, as well as alpine first ascents in New Zealand, Patagonia, and the Himalayas in the 1990s. He took little interest in the marquee peaks. He preferred obscure, lesser-known peaks that were more challenging and complex. But in 1998, he fell nearly 30 meters during a climb and shattered his knee, which made it almost impossible to climb at the level he was climbing at before the injury. This injury that initially seemed like a really big setback because he loved mountain climbing, it ultimately spawned his true life passion that he didn't even know about, and that was sea kayaking. He took to kayaking because it didn't really require the use of his legs, and so he was able to continue to push the limits of his mental and physical endurance, but wasn't hampered by a knee injury. And much like his mountain climbing career, he very quickly began conquering all of the most difficult open ocean kayaking routes all around Australia and New Zealand, to the point where he had done all of them. The only one he had not done was the Tasman Sea. Andrew estimated it would take him approximately 1 month or maybe a little bit longer to cross the 1,000-mile journey. Now, his biggest obstacle was not going to be his own physical or mental endurance. It was going to be the weather, because you're going to be out on the water for at least 30 days. There really isn't a weather window you can shoot for. You can't time this journey so you don't hit a storm. It's more about when you hit the storms, how will your kayak hold up? Other kayakers that had attempted going across the Tasman Sea had used these custom-built kayaks that had these elaborate canopies over the top of them, and they had these self-righting systems where if it flipped, it automatically popped right back up. But Andrew wanted to do it with just a basic kayak. He didn't want all the bells and whistles. He wanted this to be ridiculous. But he did need to create a sort of system to protect himself in the middle of one of these storms. And so he literally went into his backyard and constructed this fiberglass that looked like a trash can that sat over his cockpit on the kayak that he could remove and put on the back of his kayak. And then if he wanted to sleep, he could put it over him. It was sealed and watertight. And it would protect him from the storm, and if he flipped over, he wouldn't just sink to the ground. He called this dome Casper and painted a big smiley face. And so after months and months of preparing for this journey, finally, on January 11th, 2007, Andrew kissed his wife and his young son goodbye. He was off in his kayak along with Casper, and he would set sail on his solo journey across the Tasman Sea. For the first 2/3 of the trip, it seemed to be going extremely well. Andrew was checking in regularly on his radio. He had food and water. His kayak was holding up. Casper was holding up great at night. He was able to get some sleep. But some really bad storms that he was anticipating began rolling in kind of all at once in that final third. During one particularly bad storm, Andrew would remain locked underneath Casper for 28 straight hours as these 30-foot waves would just wreak havoc outside, flipping his kayak over multiple times. I mean, just absolutely terrifying stuff. Inside his kayak, he had this beacon. Push the button, it would send a GPS signal to the rescue crew that would immediately come out and save him. And the whole time it's getting thrashed around out in the middle of the ocean, he never presses the button. Because much like he didn't want to have all the bells and whistles on his kayak, he also didn't want any help. So instead, he would send kind of sarcastic text messages to the people on shore, making light of the situation he was in. Like during this storm, he sent a text message that just said, "No picnic today." 12 days after that particular storm, where he was locked inside for 28 hours, he had made it to within 80 miles of the finish line. And so he texts his wife and just says, "See you Sunday at 9 a.m. This was on a Thursday. And so when his wife, Vicky, gets the text message, she's so excited to get together everybody that wants to meet him at the finish line. And in fact, they all go there early on Thursday to just hang out and camp out until he arrives.
But 24 hours after that text message was sent to his wife, Andrew would send a distress signal to the New Orleans police. On the recording, Andrew sounds desperate. He also sounds deeply fatigued, or maybe even hypothermic, and he's pleading with them to come rescue him because his kayak is sinking. At first, people, including the Coast Guard, thought this could be a hoax, because Andrew was so competent out on the water, and he had just gotten in touch with his wife the day earlier saying everything's great, I'm almost done, I've made it past all the hard stuff, I'll see you on Sunday. But of course, they still send out a search team that night to reach Andrew. The next day, Saturday, they expand their search and do find his kayak. The only thing missing was the canopy for the kayak. The rest of the kayak seemed to work just fine. His distress beacon had not been pressed, his GPS was still there, and his camera was still there. No one knows what happened to Andrew in his 7 hours before he ultimately disappeared. The prevailing theory is he must have been capsized and separated from his kayak, and then was unable to either get back to it or even climb back in because he was so tired. This is the final picture that was taken on Andrew's camera, and you can tell from his expression that he's not particularly happy to be in the situation he's in. And in fact, in some of the earlier video clips he shot, he actually says to the camera that he feels like he bit off more than he could chew, and that he wishes he could just be home with his wife. Despite extensive search efforts, Andrew was never found. In 2005, Addie Hall met Zach Bowen when they were both bartending in New Orleans. Addie liked to give Zach a really hard time and kind of played the mean girl as her way of flirting with him. But really what she was doing was testing Zach to see if he could put up with her, because she had a mean streak. She would have these crazy, angry outbursts and would yell and scream at people around her, and then she'd turn it off just like that. She needed to make sure that he could put up with it. Zach, it would turn out, had his own mean streak, his own so in many ways, they were very similar. Many of Zach and Addie's friends that were around them in their first few weeks they were together did not have because of how often they fought. But it just so happened that Zach and Addie had met one another just weeks before Hurricane Katrina came through New Orleans and just devastated the area. And so before it arrived, Zach and Addie decide, let's stick it out. Let's stay here together. Let's ride this storm out together. And it was actually that storm that brought them together. They both fell madly in love with each other and became totally inseparable. After the storm cleared, Zach and Addie went out to the streets and began cooking food for people. And they had all this alcohol in their apartment, and they set up a makeshift bar outside in the French Quarter and was giving away drinks to people whose lives had been devastated by the storm. Their tale of love and colorful survivalism attracted many media outlets, including the New York Times, who did a feature on it. For a time, Zach and Addie felt like the king and queen of the French Quarter, and they were so happy. But when reality stepped in and the real cleanup ensued, electricity was restored, and people started going back to their homes, and people started going to work again, Zach and Addie were forced back into their old lifestyle, and neither of them wanted to experience it. So for the next year, Zach and Addie struggled to make ends meet. Their bills continued to pile up, and really those two were at each other's throats all the time in horrible, vicious fights. In October of 2006, when it seems like Zach and Addie's relationship was really on the rocks, they decide, in order to reinvigorate their relationship, they're going to move out of their current apartment, where there's lots of bad memories, and they're going to move to a new one. They found a little apartment in the offer and they moved in. No sooner had they moved in did Addie go down to the landlord and say, remove Zach from the lease. She had found out that he was cheating on her, and she was preparing to kick him out of the life. Zach found out that he was not on the lease before Addie could confront him about it, and it turned into this wicked fight between the two of them. A couple of days later, Zach showed up for work at the bar, and some of his co-workers recalled that he was acting really funny. He was wearing a hat pulled down low over his head, sunglasses, and was really quiet. And when anybody asked him, like, what's going on with you? Why are you acting so strange? He would just tell them he was fine, and would quickly walk away from them. Around the same time, Addie stopped showing up for work at all. And her co-workers turned to Zach and said, where's Addie? And he would say that they got into this fight and that Addie had actually left New Orleans and gone back to her hometown in North Carolina. And some people thought that was a little bit silly because Addie loved New Orleans, but anybody that knew Addie knew she was very unpredictable, and that they had had a fight, and it was possible that she could have left in North Carolina. A week later, on October 17, 2006, the New Orleans police got a phone call from a hotel in the area spotted what they think is a body laying on the roof of their apartment. The police arrived, they could tell it was deceased and they could die. But they couldn't tell if it was murder, suicide, or a tragic accident. So they began searching his body to see if there was any
An enemy
indication of
has
what
been
happened.
slain.
And they pull out a note that's addressed to police in his back pocket. The note is fairly long, but he communicates to the police that this was not an accident. I had to take my own life because I took a life. And if you go to my apartment on Rampart Street, you'll find the body of my girlfriend, Paul, who I killed. Police rushed to the address that was given in the note. They were horrified at what they find inside. As soon as they stepped into the apartment, the temperature dropped. The air conditioning had been set to the lowest it could
An
possibly
ally
be.
has been
It
slain.
was very cold in the apartment, and they look around and they see these strange messages spray painted all over the walls. Things like "I'm a total failure" and "Look in the oven." Arrows hanging on the walls towards the kitchen and towards the oven itself that's sitting in the kitchen. And sure enough, when they open up the oven, they find Addie. Police also found Addie's journal. Inside of it, Zach had left an 8-page, very detailed confession of how he had strangled Addie and tried to cook her to the body, but he couldn't put it on when he went to the hotel and killed himself. Here are some crime scene photos from outside the apartment as well as inside. You can see some of the messages that Zach has spray painted on the wall. Here is the infamous oven we found, as well as a message from the kitchen saying that he's sorry for the finished in reference to the inability of cooking her and disposing of her. Crazy as it sounds, this apartment is still being rented out today, and it includes this exact stove. Hisashi Ayoshi was married, had a young son. He smoked a pack of cigarettes a day. He played rugby at high school, and by 1999, he was employed as a technician at the JCO Tokimura power plant. He and his colleagues have been tasked with creating the fuel for a fast reactor called Billion. Since 1993, the company JCO that owns this power plant that Ayoshi worked for, they have been cutting a lot of corners and profitability, but at the fact, the company had its own in-house team that totally went against nuclear power plant regulation. They called this the Shadow Guide, and within the Shadow Guide, there were very specific steps that were totally unsafe and unregulated to create this fuel for this Joyo battle reactor. On September 30th, 1999, Ayoshi was creating this fuel, and he was leaning over this large steel containment tank, and he was holding a funnel. One of his colleagues was above the tank, pouring in this potent solution through the funnel into the tank. The tank they were using, that was described under the Shadow Guide, was not actually designed to hold the amount of radioactive materials that were being put inside of it. And so as Ayoshi and his colleagues are creating this mixture, a very dangerous event occurred known as criticality. One of the survivors who was sitting away from the tank on the desk described this event as being an extremely loud bang, followed by this blue flash that filled the entire room. And what that blue light was extremely high levels of radiation, and because Ayoshi was the one kind of leaning over the tank, it all went right through him. By the time a rescue crew got in the room to help them, Ayoshi is uncontrollably vomiting, and he's lightheaded and dizzy. He does not have any physical wounds. This was not an explosion, so there's no lacerations or anything on his body. But he had been exposed to 17 sieverts of radiation, which is the highest amount of radiation any human being has ever been exposed to in documented history. Ayoshi was airlifted to a hospital, and doctors and nurses were actually kind of amazed at how well he was doing in his first few days. Again, he did not have any burn marks or anything on his body. He did have a little bit of redness on his right arm. He was in good spirits, and he'd be joking around with staff about how he was doing. In reality, Ayoshi died as soon as he was exposed to that criticality event and received 17 sieverts of radiation. He was in what's known as walking ghost state, where due to high levels of radiation, all of his chromosomes had been obliterated, which meant his body did not have a blueprint to reproduce cells. So basically, he appeared alive and well because his body had created all of these cells in his body before the accident. But as those cells died off, they would not be reproduced, which means, in walking ghost state, your body is turning into a death, you're alive. Tragically, the doctor discovered this about the radiation, and when informed Ayoshi of what was going on, Ayoshi did not seem to think there could be that serious maybe at worst he would develop leukemia later in life because he thought that was a thing with radiation. And really his concern was that he might have to stay in the hospital for a little bit longer. He just wanted to go home. 3 weeks after the accident, he was tested to develop a hemorrhage and his skin was melted. They attempted numerous skin grafts to try to keep his body fluid inside of him, but none of them worked. They began rapidly decline. By November 27th, which was 2 months after the accident, miraculously, he was still alive. However, his pain levels were so high they had to put him into a medically induced coma. While he was in the coma, his heart would stop and he would need to be resuscitated 3 separate times. And on the 3rd time he was brought back, he would say, "Stop. Stop. Get out of the room. Leave me alone." But they didn't stop because the doctors and nurses were very interested in studying the effects of this level of radiation and how well he was responding to treatment, and just trying to learn as much as they could about this event because it had never happened before. And they probably justified it by saying this will save other people's lives. But what that meant is Aoji would need to suffer unbelievable levels of pain. Nearing the end, when Aoji could still speak, he told the doctors and nurses repeatedly that he is not a guinea pig. Finally, a do not resuscitate order was put in place, and in a relative short order, Aoji passed away after 83 days of treatment. The truly famous picture associated with this story is unbelievable. This picture, however, is equally disturbing because it's of Aoji right after he arrived at the hospital. He is in Joe's face. All of his chromosomes have been obliterated. He is effectively dead right now in this picture. He just doesn't know it. So that's going to do it, guys. Let me know what you thought of these 3 stories, and I'll pin the best comment at the top of the comment section. If you enjoyed today's story and you haven't done this already, please wait for the like button to be taking a shower and then flush the toilet. Also, subscribe to this channel and turn on all notifications so you don't miss any of our weekly 3, 4, even 5 video uploads. If you want to get in touch with me, you can direct message me on Instagram or on Twitter. My username for both platforms is the same. It's just JohnBallin416. I also have a ton of content over on TikTok where my username is Mr. Ballin. If you have a story suggestion, please submit it to our subreddit. It's just called Mr. Ballin. It's linked in the description below. So whether I see you on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Reddit, YouTube, some combination, just know that I really appreciate your support. Until next time, guys, that's going to do it. See you. Today, I'm going to share with you 3 progressively more disturbing stories, and at the end of each of them, I'm going to reveal a picture or pictures that are famously associated with them. But before I get into today's stories, if you're a fan of these strange, dark, and mysterious delivered in story format, come to the right channel, because that's all I do, and I upload 3, 4, and even 5 times every week. So if that's of interest to you, please offer to make the like button breakfast, but instead of powdered sugar, use baby powder on the toast. Also, please subscribe to this channel and turn on all notifications so you don't miss any of my weekly uploads. Alright, let's get into today's stories. In early August 1945, warfare changed forever when the United States dropped 2 atomic bombs on Japan. These bombs would devastate the cities of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, killing over 100,000 people. America's goals in dropping these 2 bombs was to hasten Japan's surrender and end World War II, as well as avoid any further Allied casualties. But America also wanted to showcase to the world, really the Soviet Union, that it had this new, extremely destructive technology at their disposal. So on August 6, 1945 at 8:15 a.m., the crew of the B-29 bomber Enola Gay dropped the first ever wartime atomic bomb over Hiroshima, Japan. At the time, Hiroshima was a bustling regional hub that served as a military communications center, storage depot, and troop gathering area. When the bomb detonated over Hiroshima, immediately there was this flash of boiling light that scorched everything it touched. The blast burned at 10,000 degrees Fahrenheit, and the 70,000 people that were within 1,600 feet of the initial blast radius were instantly incinerated. After the dust had settled, 5 square miles of the city were just rubble. The Sumitomo Bank was within that blast radius. That morning before the bomb detonated, an elderly resident of Hiroshima had been sitting on the front steps of the bank waiting for the doors to open. They were clutching their walking stick and they had their other arm against their chest right as the bomb exploded. And when it did, they were one of the 70,000 people that were instantaneously vaporized. This Hiroshima shadow, as it's called, is all that is left of this person. Their shadow remained on the front steps of this bank for over 20 years before they finally removed that section of the stairs and brought it to a museum. In 2008, famous inventor Peter Madsen, along with a former NASA contractor, began what they called the ultimate DIY project in Copenhagen, Denmark. Their plan was to build a rocket ship from scratch and then fly it into space. This project made Madsen and his partner kind of like anti-establishment celebrities in Denmark. But by 2014, they still hadn't completed their rocket ship, and in fact, their efforts were stalled because Madsen and his partner had this really public, nasty falling out, and Madsen had actually left the project and moved literally across the street and set up his own rocket building project with a separate team. 3 years later, in 2017, a freelance journalist named Kim Val, who was staying in Copenhagen with her boyfriend at the time, heard about the rival rocket ship makers and wanted to do a story about them. In the 4 years Kim had been a freelance reporter, she had traveled to places like Haiti to write about practitioners of voodoo, to Sri Lanka to document the tourism that goes on their former battlefields from the Civil War, and to Cuba to follow the underground network of people bringing TV and internet culture to the people. Kim was fascinated with what she called the undercurrents of rebellion, and here was just such a story literally down the road from where she was staying. She desperately wanted an interview with Madsen, but he was proving to be very difficult to get in touch with, and as months went on and still no luck, she was starting to lose hope that she would ever get to do this story. But on August 10th, 2017, the day before she and her boyfriend were planning to leave Denmark, she got a text message from Madsen saying that not only would he do the interview, but he would do it that night while riding on his homemade submarine. Prior to being known for his rocket building escapades, it was this homemade submarine that really put him on the map of famous inventors. Kim immediately said yes, this is exactly what she was hoping for, and then some. The idea that she got to write from the submarine would only add to the story. Before she left, she asked her boyfriend if he wanted to come along, and he would say that he was really close to wanting to go, but their friends had thrown them this big going away party because they were going to leave the next day. And since Kim was already not going to be there, he told her he would stay with all their friends to make sure they weren't too upset, and that she should just go, have a good time, and that he would see her in a few hours when she got back. Kim leaves their apartment and heads down to the dock to meet Madsen. She and Madsen would get on the homemade submarine at 7 p.m., but before going underneath the water, Madsen thought it'd be funny to drive past their apartment so Kim could wave to her boyfriend and all of her friends that were at this party. And so they drive past the apartment, Kim waves to her boyfriend and all the people at their going away party. Her boyfriend would take a couple pictures of her, and then Kim would go back down into the submarine. Madsen would follow her, close the hatch behind them, and disappear. Later that night, when Kim still hadn't returned, Kim's boyfriend started to get worried that something could be wrong. They did have a flight very early the next morning, and so it seemed odd that they wouldn't be back by now. And so he took his bike and he went down to the dock and he just waited for them. And by 1:45 in the morning and still no sign of them, he decides to call the police. Police launch a search, and all night they're looking and they can't find the submarine. They can't get in touch with Madsen. The next morning, the submarine was spotted near a lighthouse, and one of the boats that was out looking for them saw Madsen climb out of the hatch right as the submarine actually sank into the water. So Madsen's now swimming in the ocean, and the submarine's gone under, and there's no sign of Kim. The boat goes over and picks up Madsen, brings him to shore. Madsen would tell police that he started to notice some ballast with the submarine, and he thought it might cause it to sink. And so he took Kim to the surface and dropped her off at a nearby island. He went back down into the submarine to try to fix the issue. He said he couldn't do it, and he was only able to barely escape before the submarine ultimately sank. And if you just go over to that island right over there, you're bound to find Kim. But Kim was never on that island. This is the picture of Kim waving goodbye to her boyfriend into the goodbye pod. Right after this picture was taken, Kim and Madsen would go down into the submarine. Madsen would offer Kim coffee and cookies, and she would sit down in the control area, while Madsen would step away, go into his room, and begin watching videos of women being beheaded on his computer. Shortly after watching those videos, he walked up behind Kim. 1 month later, Kim's torso would wash up on a beach, and her head would be discovered in a plastic bag along with the knife. It's unclear why Madsen did this, but he had previously tried to get other women to take a private ride on the submarine with him. Kim was just the first person to accept. Madsen was given a license. In 1978, 16-year-old Bridget Geiger was waiting outside her home in Ohio for a boy named Jeffrey to take her to prom. She wasn't particularly excited to go to prom with Jeffrey. He was known to be really nervous around girls, and so she figured it was going to be a pretty awkward date, but nobody else had asked her to go, and she really wanted to go to prom, so she said yes. When Jeffrey showed up, she was immediately disappointed. He was wearing this odd ensemble of vest and bow tie, as opposed to the standard tuxedo that she was anticipating him wearing. So now they weren't going to match. He was also so nervous that he was visibly shaking and couldn't pin her corsage to her dress. And so Bridget's mom had to come out and put the corsage on. After the corsage was on, Bridget's mom would take a couple of very awkward photos of them standing in front of her house before they ultimately got in Jeff's car and headed. When they arrived, Bridget wanted to go on the dance floor to see her other friends to kind of lighten the mood because she was not having a good time with Jeffrey. But she did stay with him, and it was clear that Jeffrey hated being at the prom. He hated being around this swarming group of teenagers. Bridget felt kind of bad and said, "Hey Jeffrey, do you want to go sit down and grab a bite to eat over at the little food cart thing?" Jeffrey started to leave and said, "Yes, I felt free to prepare, leave the dance floor, and walk over to the little food court area." As they're about to sit down, Jeffrey pulls his hair out to Bridget. He sits down, he kind of pushes her in like a gentleman, but then instead of sitting down with her, he just walks away without telling her where he's going. Bridget assumed he was just going to the bathroom, but after a really long amount of time had passed, and it was clear he had not gone to the bathroom, she got up to go look for him. And so she went on the dance floor, and she can't find him in the building, and so she goes outside to see if maybe his car's not there anymore. He's left. And she sees his car, it's still in the lot. When she turns around to go back into the prom, she sees Jeffrey sitting on a curb just eating McDonald's cheeseburgers. She goes over to him and she says, "What are you doing out here?" And so he told her that he just wanted to step outside and get a couple cheeseburgers and then come back and he would sit with her while she ate. But they wouldn't let him back in. And so he just went and got the cheeseburgers and thought he would go through the And now that he was outside, he couldn't get back in. So she was going to say, and so Jeffrey is mortified. He tells her he's so sorry. This would be a nice evening for you. I'm sorry it wasn't. He drives her home. She says goodbye. She walks to the house. She drives off. Bridget only saw Jeffrey 1 more time. About a week after prom, and Jeffrey actually invited her to over his house for what he was calling a house party. And Bridget's like, "There's no way this kid's throwing a house party. You can barely stand to be around just me, let alone a crowd of people." But she was polite and said, "Sure, I'd love to come to your house party." She gets there, and there's no food, there's no music, there's like 3 people there. And as soon as she walks in, all Jeffrey wanted to do was have a seance and communicate with the devil. She was so immediately creeped out by Jeffrey's behavior that after only a couple of minutes, she just turned around and left his house party and did not see him again. Well, until 13 years later when she would read about him in the newspaper. 13 years later, on July 22nd, 1991, Milwaukee, Wisconsin police spot a man named Tracy Edwards running down the road in handcuffs. They run over to him and they say, "What's going on?" And he says that a man was holding him hostage in his apartment. He threatened to kill me. I was able to overpower him and escape, and here I am. The police go to this apartment that he apparently escaped from, and they knock on the door. The door opens, and the police are confronted by this tall man who introduces himself as Jeffrey. He tells police this is all a big misunderstanding, and that Tracy Edwards was trying to go and what's gotten into him. And the police were actually supposed to believe him. They would even they're talking to him, one of the officers kind of looks behind Jeffrey into his apartment, and he sees on the coffee table what are clearly pictures of dismembered body parts. And so they arrest Jeffrey, and when his apartment was fully searched, a house of horrors is revealed. In addition to photos of body parts, the apartment itself was littered with human remains. There were several human heads in the freezer and the refrigerator, and in his bedroom was a 57-gallon drum containing more dead bodies that were decomposed into chemicals. There was also evidence that suggested Jeffrey was eating. Now, Jeffrey lived in a crowded apartment complex, and so other neighbors had complained about this awful smell coming from his room, but he had been able to explain it away and convince everybody that it was just some bad meat. However, the most horrifying revelation about how Jeffrey was able to conceal all the time would come apparently 2 months before Tracy Edwards had run out of Jeffrey's apartment in handcuffs and flagged those officers. Another boy had left the apartment in handcuffs and was running down the road, and the police stopped him, but the boy couldn't really speak. He wasn't able to articulate why he was there or what he was doing. And as police are talking to him, Jeffrey comes running up the road, flags the officers down, and thanks them for finding his boyfriend. They had gotten into a lover's quarrel, and that everything was just fine. And so the police shrug it off and say, no problem, we'll even give you a ride back to your apartment. And so they drive the boy and Jeffrey back to Jeffrey's apartment. They watch them go inside, and the police leave. But if the police had paid a little bit more attention, they would have seen there was a hole drilled in the back of his head by Jeffrey. He had been pouring acid into his head to try to control him. And that was why this boy couldn't speak. And as soon as the police let them go back into the apartment, Jeffrey killed the boy. Because Jeffrey, this prom date, turned out to be none other than infamous serial killer Jeffrey Dahmer, who killed 17 people over his 13 years. Just days after this picture was taken of Jeffrey and Bridget, right before they headed off to prom together, Jeffrey would kill his first victim and start that 13-year killing. Dahmer was ultimately given a life sentence, but was killed by another man. So that's going to do it, guys. Let me know what you thought of these 3 stories in the comments, and I will pin the best comment at the top of the comment section. If you enjoyed today's video and you haven't done this already, please offer to make the like button breakfast, but instead of powdered sugar, put baby powder on their French toast. Also, please subscribe to this channel and turn on all notifications so you don't miss any of my weekly uploads. If you want to get in touch with me, you can direct message me on Twitter or on Instagram. My username is the same on both platforms. It's JohnBallin416. I also have a ton of content over on TikTok. My username over there is Mr. Ballin. If you have a story suggestion, please submit it to a subreddit just called Mr. Ballin. So whether I see you on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Reddit, YouTube, or some combination, just know that I really appreciate your support. Until next time, guys, that's going to do it. See you. Today, I'm going to be sharing 3 progressively more disturbing stories, and at the end of each of them, I will share the pictures that are famously associated with them. But before we get into those stories, if you're a fan of the strange, dark, and mysterious story format, come to the right channel because that's all we do, and we upload 3, 4, even 5 times a week. So if that's of interest to you, please offer to install brand new hardwood floors in the Lifelife home, and on installation day, show up and remove all the old flooring, but then quit the job. Also, please subscribe to our channel and turn on all notifications so you don't miss any of our weekly uploads. Alright, let's get into today's stories. In 1987, 21-year-old Deanna Wild had just separated from her husband, and she was living with her 2 friends, Virginia and CJ McGinnis, who were both 54 years old. On April 2nd of that year, the trio decided to visit Big Sur, which is a very beautiful, very steep and dangerous section of the Central California coast. They pulled over at a particular cliff overlooking the water to take a picture. Afterwards, as they were getting ready to go back to their car, Deanna wanted a closer look, so she stepped to the edge of the cliff where she lost her footing and fell 500 feet to the death. It was ruled an accident, so investigating officers refrained from taking any on-scene photographs, accepting instead Virginia's photographs that she said were taken right before it happened. Deanna's mother was unable to afford a funeral for her daughter, and So the only person she could think to ask to help her was a lawyer that went to the same church as her. His name was Steve Keeney. And Steve said, yeah, of course, I'll try to make some phone calls for you and see what I can do. And in doing so, he wound up learning about the case, about what happened to Deanna. And he discovered that her two friends, Virginia and BJ, had actually taken a life insurance policy out on Deanna the day before she fell off the cliff. And so Steve began digging into the backgrounds of Virginia and BJ, and he discovered that Virginia had a history of being around a high number of accidental deaths and suspicious fires, and that she had cashed in a whole bunch of life insurance policies. So all of a sudden, Deanna's death did not look accidental. Steve would become obsessed with the idea that the McGinnises were behind Deanna's death, but unfortunately, there was virtually no evidence to support that, because when she died, the investigating officers ruled it an accident. So there was no crime scene, there was no evidence collected, the autopsy was very cursory, and so Steve would spend 5 years building a case against Virginia and BJ, but at the end of those 5 years, it was a rock-solid case, and Virginia and BJ were arrested. During their trial, the real story of what happened to Deanna finally emerged. On that April day in 1987, the trio went to Big Sur, and they had lunch together at a picnic, and while they were eating, BJ slipped some of his and so after lunch, he drugged her in Deanna's system, and she began to get very drowsy, to the point where Virginia and BJ had to literally hold her up. She was falling over, she was so tired. And so while Deanna's in this state, Virginia and BJ tell her, hey, let's go over to the cliff and take some pictures. And so they walk over, Deanna's stumbling and BJ's holding her up, and they get to the edge of the cliff, and BJ turns around to the oceans at his back, and he's propping up Deanna, and Virginia steps away and she takes the picture. And then right after that picture, BJ, while still holding Deanna, turned around to face the water and kind of carried Deanna right to the edge. And Virginia took one more picture of them facing the water. And then right after that picture was taken, BJ took Deanna and threw her off the cliff. But perhaps the most disturbing part of this case is that as soon as he threw her off, Deanna kind of came to and whipped herself around and managed to grab onto the cliff with her hands. And so she's literally dangling, holding onto this ledge, like in the movies, begging to be pulled back up. And Virginia and BJ, instead of helping her back up, picked up rocks and bashed her hands until she fell off the cliff. Ultimately, it would be these last two pictures that Virginia took that got her and BJ convicted of killing Deanna. These pictures really showed Deanna was impaired compared to the earlier pictures on the camera roll. And the only reason these pictures existed is because Virginia was a trophy for killing, because she was actually an uncaught serial killer that went around killing people and cashing in their life insurance. One of her victims even included her own 3-year-old daughter. BJ would actually die during his trial. As for Virginia, she was found guilty and sent to jail for life. Here are the final 2 pictures that Virginia took of Deanna.
Shouldn't you be killing someone?
On July 30th, 2016, Janice Stewart was home in College Station, Texas, preparing for a wedding she was going to be photographing the following week. Her 34-year-old daughter, named Sunday Rowan, lived a few hours away in San Antonio, and she was planning to go with her to help her take these pictures. As Janice worked, her cell phone kept buzzing. Since sunrise, Sunday had been Snapchatting photos of her and her husband Matt, who was also 34, as they got ready for their hot air balloon ride that day. 18 months earlier, Sunday had bought Matt the tickets as a birthday gift, but the trip kept getting delayed because of bad weather. But on this July morning, the weather had cleared up and the trip was finally happening. Sunday and Matt often sought adventure to balance the demands of their jobs. Matt was the chief of clinical trials as he worked on the medical center in San Antonio, and was a rising star in the field of research. Sunday worked at Crazy 8, which was a kids' clothing store, and she was devoted to her young son from a previous relationship. At 6:58 that morning, Janice received an image of the balloon's ground crew prepping the wicker basket that would hold her daughter, her son-in-law, and the rest of the other passengers. Around 7:30, Janice received another image. This one was a selfie of Sunday and Matt posing inside of the wicker basket. They were up in the air, there's a beautiful field below them, they're smiling and they're hugging. After that, the messages stopped. 10 minutes later, at 7:40, 85-year-old Buddy Miller was making breakfast in his ranch when he heard two loud explosions. The first one actually rattled his house. When he looked out the window, he saw this massive plume of black smoke on another ranch's land off in the distance. Alarmed, he jumped in his pickup truck and raced past his cows to the blaze a half mile away. Commotion like this rarely occurred in Maxwell, Texas, a quiet rural community about 40 miles south of Austin. At her home just up the road was 66-year-old Margaret Wiley, who heard the explosions too. She said the first one reminded her of the sound of a 20-gauge shotgun. When she stepped onto the porch, she heard the second explosion, and she said it sounded like a loud pop, followed by a whooshing sound, like the sound a gas stove makes at night. When she looked out towards where the sounds had come from, she saw this massive fireball explode in the distance, and she immediately called her. When Buddy and the other first responders arrived at the scene, they saw this huge fire at the base of the power line tower. And at first, they couldn't figure out what was actually burning. They heard the sound that innocent cartoons made. They thought maybe it was a tractor, or air that had caught fire, but upon closer inspection, they saw a liquor basket and they saw fire. It would turn out the pilot of that hot air balloon was 49-year-old Skip Nichols, and he had elected to fly that day despite a low cloud cover that had grounded the other hot air balloon companies in the area that morning. Also, Skip was on a mixture of prescription and over-the-counter drugs that impaired his ability to fly the balloon safely. After being in the air for 8 miles above the clouds, Skip decided it was time to land, and so he blindly descended through the clouds, and he immediately hit a power line. An arc carrying 340,000 volts of electricity cut the balloon's metal support cables like a torch. As soon as the basket began plummeting toward the earth, the fuel lines disconnected from the burners overhead, spraying liquid propane up into the burners, and then arced back down into the wicker basket, immediately engulfing the entire thing in flames. The burning basket fell over 100 feet to the ground. By 10 a.m. that morning, Janice had still not heard from her daughter after that last text message, which included the picture of her and Matt, that selfie of her in the balloon, and Janice was concerned that something had gone wrong. So she turned on the TV, and the first thing she sees is hot air balloon crash in Texas, no survivors. And on the screen, she immediately recognized the smiley face that was on the balloon that had crashed, because she recognized it from the images her daughter had sent her. Even before she got the official call, she knew instinctively that her daughter and her son-in-law were both gone. Here are the final pictures taken of Sunday, Matt, and the other 14 people who were alive.
Your turret has been destroyed. An enemy has been slain. Shut down.
On September 25th, 1978, a Pacific Southwest Airlines Boeing 727 jet airliner entered San Diego airspace. Like all PSA aircraft, Flight 182 had a whimsical black button nose and smiley face painted underneath the cockpit. These so-called grinning birds were synonymous with the company's self-promoting ad campaign about them being the world's friendliest airline. But the airline was often criticized for being too friendly with their super low airflow, their kind of comic banter that the captains would employ to the intercom of passengers, and their female flight attendants who wore miniskirts and were instructed to make nice to female passengers. Because the weather was clear, air traffic control directed Captain McFerrin and First Officer Fox to switch from instrument flight rules to visual flight rules and to begin their visual flight rules refers to pilots using their eyes to guide the plane. It's done when they're flying low, the weather's clear, and they can see the ground. At 8:59 a.m. that morning, as PSA Flight 182 descended down to 4,000 feet, air traffic control advised them of a Cessna, which is a small plane, that was ascending in their direction. Fox responded that they saw the Cessna, and so air traffic control came back and said to maintain visual separation. Maintain visual separation meant that despite ground radar-based controllers who could provide vertical and lateral separation criteria, the burden for maintaining separation fell solely on the captain of the plane. In layman's terms, air traffic control was telling them, don't lose sight of the Cessna. Inside the Cessna was a flight instructor named Martin Casey and a student with the United States Marine Corps. As this little plane ascended, air traffic control informed them that PSA 182, who was right in front of them and slightly above them, they were on their descent. However, they had the Cessna in sight. As a result, the men inside of the Cessna did not take it upon themselves to actively begin looking for this jet. They assumed the pilots of PSA 182, who had them in sight, would avoid them. Back in PSA 182, there seemed to be some confusion in the cockpit. The two pilots were debating whether the Cessna they were watching fly lower than them, past them on the right, was the same Cessna that air traffic control had told them about. And at some point they agreed, yep, that's got to be the same Cessna, and so they called in to air traffic control that it looks like the Cessna has passed us. They've flown past us on the right. Immediately after this transmission, the black box recorded the two pilots talking to each other, basically trying to convince the other that yes, that was definitely the right Cessna. But after a couple of minutes of reassuring themselves, one of them says, boy, I hope that was the right Cessna. According to later testimony by the air traffic controller, who was in communication with the pilots of PSA 182 as they were on the final descent, he would say when Captain McFerrin came over and said the Cessna had passed him on the right, he believed him, and he didn't think to check to make sure it was the right one. And in reality, the Cessna that McFerrin and Fox had seen was the wrong one. The real Cessna they were supposed to maintain visual separation with, the one containing Casey and Boswell, was still ascending in the direct flight path of PSA 182, except now this Cessna is in 182 flying path below the nose. They literally can't see. At 9:01 that morning, air traffic control got an alarm that PSA 182 and this Cessna are about to collide, but for some reason the air traffic controller did not alert both aircraft. Instead, this controller only contacted the Cessna and didn't tell them this was a dire situation. They said, hey, there's traffic in your vicinity, but I'm pretty sure it's just PSA 182, and they already see you. You're fine. So Casey and Boswell, inside of the Cessna, just continued to ascend. 1 minute later, at 9:02 a.m., PSA 182 flies directly over the Cessna and strikes them with their nose wheel. The Cessna gets hooked by the wheel and flips upside down and gets trapped underneath the right wing of the jet. Seconds later, the Cessna splits in two. The tail section, containing David Boswell, plummets to the earth like a rag doll. The nose section of the Cessna that contained Martin Casey stayed trapped underneath the right wing for a few seconds before sinking. Inside of PSA 182, this explosion was deafening, and immediately after it, McFerrin was recorded saying, easy baby, easy baby. Then he asked Fox, what's the damage? And Fox said, it's bad, man, we're hit. Despite trying to keep the plane flying level, it lurched forward into an unrecoverable nosedive, and McFerrin, knowing they were doomed, calmly calls out to air traffic control and says, we're going down. Air traffic responded, okay, we'll have the equipment ready for you. Then the black box recorded the sound of a stall warning inside the cockpit, and as the aircraft streaked at over 300 miles per hour straight towards the ground, McFerrin's last known transmission to air traffic was, this is it. Seconds before impact, McFerrin gave his final command over the intercom, which was, brace yourselves. And then right before the black box cut out, someone in the cabin yelled, I love you. At 9:03 a.m., PSA 182 slammed nose first into the ground just outside in an area called North. The resulting explosion of thousands of gallons of jet fuel sent a shockwave that was registered 2 miles away. Almost immediately, firefighters were rushing towards the rising mushroom cloud of black pillar of smoke, and many of the first responders that arrived at the crash site in the first few hours were deeply disturbed. The bodies that had not been destroyed in the explosion had gotten trapped up in the tree. All told, 144 people were killed in this accident, and 135 were from PSA 182, 2 were from the Cessna, and 7 were just unlucky people that were standing on the ground. Following a 1-year investigation into the radar collision, it was determined that the flight crew of PSA 182 was found to be primarily responsible because there was that moment that they picked up in the laptop and the two pilots were unsure if the assessment that passed them was the right one. So instead of calling that into air traffic control and getting confirmation, they blew it on. The morning of the crash, a San Diego photographer was at a press event when he heard the explosion overhead, which was 182 colliding with Cessna, and he began taking pictures, and he captured these now 2 infamous photos of PSA 182 seconds before they hit the ground. So that's going to do it, guys. If you found the secret in today's episode, let us know in the comments what it is and where you found it, so give us the timestamp. If you're the first to do that, we'll pin you at the top of the comments section. If you enjoyed today's video and you haven't done this already, please offer to install brand new, beautiful hardwood floors at the Lifebox house, and on installation day, remove all of their original flooring and then click the journal. Also, please subscribe to our channel and turn on all notifications so you don't miss any of our weekly 3, 4, and 5 videos. If you want to get in touch with me, you can direct message me on Instagram and Twitter. My username for both platforms is the same. It's JohnBallin416. I also have a ton of content over on TikTok where my username is Mr. Ballin. If you have a story suggestion, please submit it to our subreddit called Mr. Ballin. It's linked in the description below. So whether I see you on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Reddit, YouTube, or some combination, just know that I really appreciate your support. And until next time, that's going to do it. See you. Today, I'm going to share with you 3 progressively more disturbing stories, and at the end of each of them, I'm going to share with you the photo that is famously associated with them. But before we get into today's stories, if you're a fan of the strange, dark, and mysterious delivered in story format, and you come to the right channel because that's all we do, and we upload 3, 4, and 5 times every week. So if it's of interest to you, please press the like button in a realistic bear suit, and then send them to the next Almonte ritual in Japan. Also, please subscribe to our channel and turn on all notifications so you don't miss any of our weekly uploads. Alright, let's get into today's story. In 2016, 21-year-old Darren Mitchell was living in southeast Texas in a town called Navajo. He was serving in the U.S. National Guard, he was the proud father of a 1-year-old little girl, and he was engaged to a little girl. Anyone that knew Darren knew his main goal in life was to support his little mother's family. While he personally really wanted to go to a trade school, he ended up putting his dream on hold to raise money for his fiancée to university in the U.S. And their plan was, after she completed nursing school, Darren would then raise more money and go to school himself. That spring, southeast Texas was hit with record rainfalls. It seemed like for Darren, every time he went to and from work, the sky was always gray and the road was always sunny. But of all the thunderstorms that passed through that area that year, there was none more powerful than the 24-hour thunderstorm that began on May 26th. That afternoon, Darren was on his way home from work. He was traveling along Texas State Highway 105. It was raining so hard that his windshield wipers literally could not keep up with the amount of water hitting his windshield. And so he eventually just had to slow way down just to make sure he didn't crash into anyone. He looked around him, and the fields and the ditches next to the road were already filling with water because the ground was already completely saturated from all the rainfall over the past couple of months. Before long, Darren found himself stopping right in the middle of the highway behind this huge row of traffic. Apparently, there was some significant flooding up ahead on the road, and people were hesitant to drive through it. And so after a while, when this huge row of traffic was just not moving, and the rain was just continuing to pour down, Darren started to worry he might be in an emergency situation, that this could be a flash flood scenario. And so he called his brother and he told him that he was stuck on Highway 105 because there was flooding up ahead, there was flooding behind him, he couldn't really go anywhere. And so his brother asked him, what are you going to do? And at some point Darren said, hey, I can actually get out my window, so I'm fine, I'll talk to you later. But after that, nobody heard from Darren. And later that afternoon, when Darren didn't make it home, his family got really concerned and they called the police. And so that night, a search was launched to find Darren, but there was no sign of him. But the next morning, they did discover Darren's blue pickup truck that had flipped over. It was off the side of the highway near a river that had been created by the floodwaters. Darren was not inside of the vehicle, but 24 hours later, they did discover his body. He had drowned, and he had drifted 1 mile downstream of his truck. The family was obviously devastated by this horrible loss, but they just could not reconcile how he had been on the phone with his brother saying that he was going to be just fine to just a couple days later being found dead. It would turn out there was actually a witness that watched what happened to Darren. She had been caught up in this flash flood as well, except she was in a vehicle that did not get swept away. And so she was watching Darren as the floodwaters raged around his vehicle, and she said he climbed out of the window and he got into the bed of his pickup truck, and then from the bed he moved up to the roof of his truck, and at this point the waters began pulling his vehicle, so his vehicle became unsteady, and from her perspective it seemed like Darren did not like his odds on the roof of his truck, and so he climbed back inside of his truck. And then just a couple of minutes later, his vehicle was dragged into a deeper section of the water, and it flipped upside down and was pulled under, and Darren did not reemerge. With this information, Darren's family was able to figure out that when Darren climbed back into his truck, right before it flipped over, he posted something to Facebook that now, looking back at it, is unbelievably haunting. Randy Weaver was a college dropout and a former Army Green Beret, which is the Army Special Forces. He and his wife Vicky were religious fundamentalists and deeply distrusted the government and believed the end of the world was imminent. In the early 1980s, they began hoarding guns and began making plans to live in some secluded area off the grid. In 1984, Randy, Vicky, and their children moved into a cabin they had built themselves overlooking Ruby Creek in Idaho. By choice, they had no electricity and no water. After receiving information that Randy had made threats against the President Ronald Reagan and other government officials, the FBI and the Secret Service began investigating him. Although no charges were ever filed against him, in their investigation, they discovered he had ties to the Aryan Nation, which is a white supremacist group. So in 1989, when Randy inadvertently sold 2 illegal weapons to undercover ATF agents, they said, instead of arresting you and sending you to jail, you can actually become an informant on the Aryan Nation. But Randy said he wasn't tied to the Aryan Nation and couldn't do that, and so they indicted him for making and keeping illegal weapons. After being released on bail in 1991, Randy missed his court date, and so a warrant was issued for his arrest. The U.S. Marshal Service was now responsible for bringing Randy in, but given his significant weapon arsenal and his anti-government stance, they assumed he would not go easily. And so they decided they would launch a secret surveillance campaign of Randy, his family, and where they lived to gain some intelligence on what they did day to day and find the right time to go up and apprehend him. So in early 1992, secret surveillance teams were set up all around the Weaver family cabin, and what they found was the Weaver family, despite being extremist, they mostly kept to themselves, and they definitely were not aware they were being watched. The only reason the marshals didn't just go up and apprehend him was because anytime the Weavers were outside of their cabin, they were always armed. A few months later, in August, as the surveillance teams were getting ready to set up for the day to gather more intelligence on the Weavers, the Weaver dogs took notice of the surveillance teams and started charging into the woods barking like maniacs. And Randy, along with his friend Kevin Harris that was staying with them, and Randy's teenage son Sammy, took off after the dogs, not knowing that they were going to be running straight into a government surveillance team. And when these two parties encountered each other, a firefight ensued that left Sammy, Randy's son, dead, along with their dog dead, and one of the marshals, William Deegan, was killed as well. Who shot first and who shot whom would later be hotly debated by all the survivors in the courts and in the media. Immediately after the shooting stopped, Randy and Kevin turned around and ran back up to the cabin to take cover. Meanwhile, the surviving marshals ran out of the forest and they told their boss what had happened. And their boss is like, this is going to turn into a standoff. We need this to end right now. And so he called the FBI and he painted a picture of the Weaver family and Randy specifically as this enormous threat, that it had been this unprovoked attack on the marshals and that they got to come in force to put an end to this thing. And so the next day, hundreds of FBI agents, huge vehicles and helicopters, they all showed up in this little area in Idaho getting